Okay, hey, welcome into Rocked On Detroit Lions. A little bit of breaking news for you guys tonight. You know, it feels good on a Saturday evening when you get good news about your Lions. Calvin Shepard promoted to defensive coordinator. I would really love to hear what you guys think about this move in the comments of this video or this live show when it's all done. And of course, in the chat, you guys let me know. Is this a great move by Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes? Or were you holding out hope that it was Larry Foote or Robert Saleh or somebody else? And I'll give you my thoughts here and what I'm thinking. If you remember the other day, I said it kind of didn't make sense to bring in a guy that was going to be a one and done. And what I mean by that is if you bring in a guy like Saleh, he's more than likely one and done. He's going to go through this season. He's going to have a great season with the roster that we already have. And then he's going to get poached to be a coach next season. Almost can guarantee it. I'm not even sure where Robert Saleh is right now. I don't even know if he's been picked up by another team, to be honest with you. I just used him as an analogy. Now, Larry Foote, I'm not so sure that he's in the running for any sort of a head coach opportunity when they do become available. But Calvin Shepard, to be honest with you, I think that he could be. And I'm not saying it's next year, meaning 2027. 2026. He might need a year or two as a defensive coordinator before he actually gets into the running, and or if he does have an exceptional season in 25, which we're expecting, Calvin, then he may get a few interviews. He just might, but I doubt he's going to get poached next year. I really do. And that's nothing against him. I just think when you look at all the other coaches that are still available and all of the coaches coming up through the ranks of college, it is going to be thick after 2025 for any teams that are looking to make some replacements. And from what I've heard, Chicago's going to be making a replacement after year one anyway, so there might be an opportunity there. I don't have the dum-dum drums, but you know what I'm saying. Wish you nothing but love, Ben. Traitor. Absolute traitor.
This is reckless.
Ben's reckless. All right. Anyway, what's happening, everybody? How's your weekend going? I'm glad we got Pete Carroll. Who's that? You must be a Raider fan up in here. Knock Andrew. Yeah, you did get Pete Carroll if you are a Raider fan. Absolutely. I thought that Pete was kind of done. We'll see what happens. I'd like to see the Raiders back. You know that. I was really hoping that Ben was going to go there. I'd like to see the Raiders, back in the NFL and be part of this thing again. Lions are good. Why not have the Raiders back? The old black and blue, style of football, right? I mean, the Raiders were known for their hard hitting, just nasty defenses back in the day. I love to see the Raiders back. Absolutely would. Ben and L. Who's L? I don't know who L is. Brent, but yeah, Ben can definitely, he can eat one. David Lyon says, Will, I just want to look better versus the running quarterbacks. David, I think that everybody wants that. And I don't think that anybody's going to get it, to be honest with you. Just look around the league. I think Dan said it best. Nobody has great luck against running quarterbacks. But what the Lions did this season when we were healthy, and even when we weren't the healthiest, I think we did all right. It's just this last game. I don't think you can really judge it by, the defense that we used to have, right? This is a defense that we had at the end of the season, just wasn't all there. And I think Aaron Glenn's decision was terrible. Matter of fact, I was more vindicated yesterday when I listened to Tom Brady, and I totally forgot to clip it. So if you know what I'm talking about, Tom Brady was talking about the Lions and the Commanders game. It must have been after the game, but I caught this way later. And he was talking about, blitzing against an RPO, basically. He said, not a good idea. So I'll bring it in for Monday. By the way, Eric will be off for a couple of weeks. He's going on a rock hunt, I guess. I'm just kidding. He's going to be doing something for business for a couple of weeks, and then he'll be back. So he's going to try to tune in while he's out, but he'll be in a different time zone. He'll be 3 hours behind us, so it'll be kind of difficult. So we'll see who comes in next week. Might have some guests. May see Riley a little bit more. Otherwise, you're just blessed with me all week and the next week. So what do you guys think about Calvin Shepard? I'd really love to know, because I think that I mean, I wasn't against it. Wasn't my first choice, but I wasn't against it. He was probably my third choice. It was Williams, absolutely number one. As far as anybody else on the team, it would have been Calvin, but it would have been like, hey, can we somehow snag Dennis Allen? Can we make that happen? Or, is there somebody else coming up through the college ranks that has, NFL and college experience, someone that's looking to come back to the NFL? But then again, I'm going to say it for what it is. I think that a lot of teams now, and I want to make sure this doesn't come off the wrong way. I think a lot of teams now are going to, and I'm not saying that Brad is doing this or Dan is doing this or Sheila's doing this, but if you look at what the 49ers did for years, I think that they were trying to take advantage of the Rooney Rule as much as they could. And I don't think that Calvin or anybody else that's earning their positions right now only earned it because of the Rooney Rule. I absolutely do not believe that. I think that they've earned their positions because they are damn good football coaches. So for everybody else, out there saying that, people are taking advantage of the Rooney Rule or whatever, okay. But does that mean they didn't earn their spot? They absolutely 1000% did. So I don't want people to think that about Calvin. He's absolutely been an animal as far as what he's been able to work with in that linebacker room. I mean, it's just been depleted this season, and he had his guys playing at a high level. So congratulations to Calvin Shepard for getting his elevation. Let's bring in Ian Rappaport here, or whomever I've got lined up. So Ian Rappaport says the Lions promoting linebacker Calvin Shepard to defensive coordinator, filling the shoes of Aaron Glenn, per himself, and Mike Garafolo. A quick rise, as he says, for the 8-year NFL veteran. Shepard earns a defensive coordinator job in only his third season under Dan Campbell. So Shepard spent 8 years in the NFL as a linebacker, playing for 5 different teams during that time. Finished his career in 2018 with 1 season on the Lions roster, which paved the way for him to return to the team as a coach in 2021. Now, I will say that is enlightening, to say the least, right? He's only been coaching for 3-4 seasons now, and he's already earned a defensive coordinator position. And I think that's why what I was reading, seeing, and hearing, out in the interwebs is that Calvin is getting this job for other reasons. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. I think that Calvin's going to be a hell of a defensive coordinator, and he's going to do a great job. Anyway, it goes on to say that after a year as the team's outside linebackers coach, Shepard was quickly promoted to the linebackers coach, a position he held for the past 3 seasons. And now he's set to take a big step forward as Detroit's defensive coordinator, and he will have some big shoes to fill now that Aaron Glenn is gone. Campbell obviously will be happy to have a defensive coordinator in place, and he will likely shift his attention to finding a replacement for Johnson at offensive coordinator. The work doesn't end there, though. Campbell still has to fill several vacant positions, which, you know what? We retained a couple of guys. Hank Fraley's with us. He's not going anywhere. He gets a little bit of a promotion. And now Calvin Shepard gets a promotion. So the biggest question is, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Who's going to fill Calvin's position? And what happened to Larry Foote? Did he not pass the test? Was there a different fit for him? Maybe he didn't want to take it. Maybe the money wasn't right. I don't know. I'm not real sure. Maybe we'll find out in the coming days. Honestly, I haven't really seen anything about Larry Foote, about the interview process, or any notes, after he came in. So I don't think that Larry Foote's going to take a linebacker coach job, Brent. I really don't. I think that, coming from where he's coming from in the positions that he's held, I think that would be a downgrade for him, to be honest. I think that Larry Foote probably deserves a lot better than that. Just to be real, I think he's a much better coach than just a linebackers coach. And I don't mean anything against Calvin Shepard for just being a linebackers coach. It's just a downgrade, right? It's not even a lateral move. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen, because I can't say that we have all of these guys, just waiting to fill all of these different roster spots. It doesn't mean that Brad and Dan won't take a flyer on somebody, but then again, when you have a roster that is this close to swimming in the playoffs every single season, and the window that they talk about is open, I don't think that you're going to make a mistake here. I think that they're going to look for bona fide guys that know what they're doing, that have plenty of experience in the league, and that they're going to help this roster get to that next step, right? We got up to the mountaintop. It's time to get onto the other side. We need to come on down holding that trophy. We can't get stuck at the top. Nobody wants to be stuck at the top of the mountain. I'm glad that we got there, but now we need to get to the other side. There's just no other choice for Lions right now. We just have to do it, have to be able to do it. The Detroit Free Press had a few things to say about Calvin Shepard as well. Basically this stating that they quickly filled a vacancy on the assistant staff a day after losing defensive line coach Terrell Williams. I keep butchering his name. I don't know why. Anyway, he left to the Patriots by hiring Casey Rogers. Now, I think that Casey Rogers was a hell of a pickup. Like, this guy is bringing some knowledge to this team. And I think that he's going to be more than just a defensive line coach. I think that he's going to be able to help out this team in more ways than one. But Rodgers obviously spent 6 seasons with Tampa Bay, as their defensive line coach. So he knows, obviously the defensive line, but he knows way more than that. This guy is going to be able to help out this team, and he's going to be in line, at some point for a defensive coordinator position or a level up with the Detroit Lions. I mean, let's just say something doesn't work out with Calvin Shepard and the defense isn't doing what, the Lions are expecting it to do. Then you've got guys now that you're bringing in that could make the move or make the jump if needed. Do you guys have any worries about Calvin Shepard? Do you think that he's too young of a coach? Or, did he just hit it at the right time? Meaning, maybe he has a wealth of knowledge that we just don't understand. Maybe he's a lot smarter than what any of us really know, because I don't know Calvin personally. I don't know anything about the guy, to be honest with you. I just know that he's been our linebackers coach. Great dude, leader of men, powerful voice, clearly can command a room. All the, general qualities of a good coach. But it's about the brains to me. His smarts. What kind of scheme is he going to run? And you're only as good as your guys around you, just like your team is only as good as your depth, right? You're only as good as the guys around you. So Dan has got to really put some powerful players, some key pieces around Calvin Shepard to have success. Casey Rogers was that first move. And bringing a guy in that has a wealth of experience like he does. So, even if Calvin is a little bit raw, he'll have some pieces around him. We did lose a couple of people over the weekend, though. JT Barrett did follow Ben Johnson to the Bears. Antoine Randall L. did follow Ben Johnson to the Bears. But Hank Fraley did stay in Detroit. Larry Foote, as far as the interview goes, I don't really know anything. Like I said a minute ago, haven't seen anything. And as far as offensive coordinator candidates, I don't know why people are still saying that Hank Fraley's still in the running. I don't know that that's still a possibility with the fact that he's already accepted another position. But passing game coordinator Tanner Engstrand, Scotty Montgomery, as the assistant head coach and running backs coach this last season, is still in the running. And then Syracuse offensive coordinator Jeff Nixon, and then the former Seattle Seahawks quarterbacks coach Greg Olson have all been mentioned according to the Detroit Free Press. So be interesting to see, is Deshea Townsend going to stick around? Are we going to need another defensive backs coach this season? What about Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen? Has he been picked up anywhere? What are the opportunities for him? And then what about the Denver Broncos defensive backs coach, Jim Leonard, who we were talking about last week? There's still, plenty of names available. Again, I don't know where everybody is at this point. I'm just really jumping on to talk about Calvin and kind of give you guys the news, but there's still plenty of options, plenty of fish in the sea for the Lions to wrap up this coaching staff before too long. Okay, so let's see here. Let's get in the chat. J Mommy says, McFly and his former coach are irrelevant. I've been out of the state for a bit. Let's see. Raiders signed Spytech. Michigan buddy of Brady is the new GM per Pro Football in NBC Sports. Let's see. Central Scrutinizer says the players need to trust the coach. This is a good move. I would agree. Southwest 26 says, does Brunell want to be the offensive coordinator? You know, according to Brunell, he doesn't. Maybe he does with the Lions, but from what we've read in previous, weeks leading up to this, he didn't want to be a coordinator. But, maybe people change their mind. What else happened in here? Ed Huffmaster says, is the rest of the defensive coaching staff in place, or are there more changes to come? No, I think that there's going to be some more changes. Deshaun Townsend was interviewing. I haven't seen a report that he has decided to stay. Let's see if I can find something real quick. So Townsend interviewed with the 49ers for their D coordinator position. Now we know he's got experience in the NFL as a player, right? He was a cornerback for the Steelers. He also coached with the Bears, the Giants, the Titans, and the Jags. He was part of 2 Super Bowl winning defenses with Pittsburgh in 2005 and 2008. So, I mean, he was a cornerback in the NFL for 13 years. He's been a secondary coach since, 2019, basically. So it'd be interesting to see, what falls out with him. But that's all the news that I really see is he interviewed with the 49ers and not much else has been discussed that I can see. As far as our coaching staff goes, I think it's hilarious when you go to the Detroit Lions website and you look at our coaching staff and they've got this old picture of Dan Campbell in there. He just looks kind of goofy. Like they need to update this post for sure. They need to update it. On the offensive side of the football is where I'll start. Since someone asked about, our coaching tree basically, and, are there more moves that we're going to be looking forward to? First and foremost, Scotty Montgomery. He is still my number 1 pick for the offensive coordinator position. JT Barrett's gone. Mark Brunell is still in place. Tanner Engstrand is in place. He is my second internal option for the offensive coordinator position. Then there's Hank Fraley. He's already accepted a position, so he's still in place. I'm not expecting him to be an offensive coordinator at this point. Tight ends coach Stephen Hayden. Haven't heard any news on him. I assume he's still in place. Steve Oliver, the assistant offensive line coach. No news on him. I assume that he's still in place. Now, the wide receivers coach, Antoine Randall L., he is gone. He obviously followed Ben Johnson to Chicago. So we do expect that we're going to need a new wide receivers coach. Who that is, I don't know. I've heard that some of the fans have been clamoring for Calvin Johnson. That would be interesting. I don't know if he has any wants or wishes to coach in the NFL. He has been around the team for a few seasons now, so who knows? But I'm going to put that one very low on the totem pole. Of course, I would love to see it, but I think that that's just a fan in us, thinking of the player that he was, that'll make him a good coach. That doesn't always work out that way. Still love Calvin, but I'd rather see a really educated, good quality coach coming in, even though Calvin is extremely educated, super smart, hell of a player. Let's get a top-notch coach in place. Seth Ryan, assistant wide receivers coach. Now, that could be the move for him to step up. He could take Antoine Randall L's, position, and then the Lions fill the hole for Seth Ryan. So that's on the offensive side of the football. On the defensive side of the football, no, not Antonio Brown, Mark Baylor. On the defensive side of the football, the defensive assistant, outside linebackers coach, David Carrero. Haven't heard anything about him. Not a thing. Assistant defensive line coach, Cameron Davis. Haven't heard anything about him either. Assistant linebackers coach, Sean Dion Hamilton. Haven't heard anything on him. So all 3 of those guys should be in place. And then defensive assistant, Jim O'Neill. I thought I heard something about Jim O'Neill. Hold on here. Let's see. Maybe not. Different Jim O'Neill. That one was political. My apologies. So linebacker, obviously Calvin Shepard. He was just promoted to defensive coordinator. And then we have Dre Thompson. He was the WCF, William Clay Ford, minority coaching assistant, defensive quality control coach. Haven't heard anything on him. And then passing game coordinator and the defensive backs coach, Deshea Townsend. Like I just said, he interviewed with the 49ers. Haven't heard anything about him recently. So there's still an opportunity that Deshea Townsend needs to get replaced. So that would be the only position that the Lions would be, looking to add still. So I'd say a large portion of our defense is still in play. Special teams, nobody's touched that. So Dave Phipp's still good. Jet Mockins, last I heard, he's still good. And then strength and conditioning. I mean, you could always get better there, but I think we're okay right now. That's it. Outside of Dan Campbell, that is your coaching staff. Now, there's a ton more people that are on the sidelines doing random various things, but they are not considered, coaches. So no poaching from AG yet, says Southwest Lion 26. That's a good thing. Aaron Glenn said that he wasn't going to poach. Ben Johnson said the same thing. And Ben Johnson did. And at this point, if Aaron Glenn decided to dip his toes in our water again, after Ben Johnson did, yeah, we could be hurting. We could lose some people pretty quickly. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe Aaron Glenn has enough respect for Dan Campbell in Detroit to just kind of leave it be and build his own crew. And you know what? Sometimes that may work out for the best. You get your own people in there, people that trust you. Not to say that nobody would trust him from Detroit, but they absolutely would. But you build your own crew, and sometimes it turns out for the better. At this point, I really don't have any other options of guys that I'm thinking about, to bring in for some of these positions. They're just not positions that you think about all the time. I'm sure that Dan and Brad have a plan. I'm glad that, today happened the way that it did, and the Lions moved quickly to put Calvin Shepard in the position that he's in. So the question that I asked on Friday, I'm going to ask you again today. Now that the Lions have locked up their defensive coordinator position, would you be okay if the Lions did the same thing with the offensive coordinator position? We've heard it. I mean, we've heard it from a few people that having experience from the outside coming in at one of those positions may be better than promoting internal, guys that haven't done it before. So promoting from just internal where they're getting an elevation may not be the right move. Bo Booth says, I would love to see a Lions spreadsheet for the coaching staff. What do you want to see, Bo? I can show you this. Hold on, buddy. It's not really a spreadsheet. Unless I don't understand your statement there. All right. All right, here you go. Yeah, look at this picture of Dan. Look how old that is. Poor Dan. Got to get that thing updated, man. I should have just did this with you when I was going through it all, but that's your coaching staff right now. So Dan Campbell, Scotty Montgomery, JT Barrett's gone. Mark Brunell's in place. Tanner Engstrand's still there. Hank Fraley just locked up again. Tight end Steve Hayden still there. Steve Oliver is there. Antoine Randall L is gone. Seth Ryan still in play. Defensive side of the football, the only one that's had a move so far is Calvin Shepard right here in the middle. He is now our DC. And then Deshea Townsend on the bottom left. He is the only one that's interviewing for another position outside of the building. Everybody else is in play. So was that what you wanted to see, Bo? It's on the Detroit Lions website under team, coaches, and roster. Yeah, that Dan Campbell picture, man, that makes me chuckle a little bit here inside because that's an old picture. That's got to be from 2021. Has to be. All right, so we have coffee boxes that are going to be going out this month. So for all the elite members that have subscribed to the channel, I can't thank you enough for all of your support. I think we're up to 7 elite members now, which is damn good. I mean, that's incredible. So when I put the boxes together, before I put the labels on them, I'm putting a surprise in each box. So there's going to be a piece of Lions merch, right, that goes in there. I'm not going to tell you what that is. You're just going to get it when you get it. If I know, I can't even say that. So I do have one Sonic. He's going to go in a box. And then I have a Sonic Pez dispenser. He's going to go in a box. And then everybody else will either get a Knuckles, or that's a Sonic. It's a different kind of Sonic. Or maybe that's a Knuckles. I can't tell. Either you're going to get the red one or something different. So everyone's going to get some sort of a surprise in their box this year for 2025. Hopefully something just to make you smile, man. It's been kind of a tough ending, to the season. And I think some of us could still use, a little bit of an extra smile here or there. Which Eric, thankfully he's getting to head out west. He's going to go get some sun. He's going to get some of that vitamin D injection, so he's going to be feeling great by the time he gets back. I might have to just go cheat, put some artificial sun or something on this body because it's time for vacation or something. So what else is going on in Lions news? I don't think there's really much going on outside of this season coming to an end, and now they're scrambling to get some coaches settled and start working on the draft. So this next week, we're going to be spending plenty of time on not only mock drafts, but still the free agency frenzy. So any coach that we bring in, I'm looking at the players that could potentially come with them. And I already highlighted 3 from the Bucs, and I'm going to highlight a couple of more this weekend. And then if we do bring in another coach, obviously from another team, you never know what players might want to come with them. And I look at the needs, the needs analysis for this team. And I guess I'm going to throw this out to you guys because William Golston from Tampa Bay, I know he's played his whole career in Tampa. He's probably at the point where he's getting ready to retire. But I kept thinking about Alim McNeill and how he's banged up, right? And he's going to be banged up for a long time. I mean, some guys have been able to, rehab quickly and, they get injured and they're able to make it back for training camp. If Alim McNeill can pull that off, not only would I be surprised, but I think that would help the Lions in a certain situation. But obviously, Brad and Dan are probably going to have to plan on the fact that Alim McNeil is going to be out well into the new season. So with that in mind, I don't think you necessarily want to go out and bring in a top flight guy because you already have DJ. You need someone to fill in. And you need someone that can play at a high level, but not cost you $15, $20 million a year. And I thought William Golston could probably fit that mold and could still play at a high level. He just doesn't play a ton of snaps, or at least he hasn't in the last couple of seasons. So that's where my mind is right now, is how do we fill the roster, now based on all these injuries that we have. I think the large majority of them are going to be fine by training camp, but there's going to be a couple of guys that are still working their way back. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's one, Alim McNeill is the other. Those 2 guys have the longest recovery. Dorsey shouldn't be that long of a recovery, but I think that Dorsey was a restricted free agent anyway. And obviously, Amik, he should be good to go. Broken arm and everything, he should be good to go in another 12 weeks. So I don't really see anything else happening in Lions news other than this. More JMO news. Just so happened that today it was released, about 45 minutes ago, that he got fined for his unsportsmanlike, obscene gesture touchdown celebration in the end zone. in last week's loss to the Commanders, he was, he's just feeling out the turf there. I didn't think he did more than 3 pumps. I thought it was only 2, the 2-pump chump or whatever he did in the end zone. $25,000, $325. $25,325 was his fine. This is after he took that end around 61 yards, to the end zone. And it cost him. It cost him big time. So not smart, but hey, we're always looking forward to some sort of JMO news, but this is not the news that we like. Commanders linebacker Frankie Louvu was fined for 2 infractions during the game, including a fine for roughing the passer. It was the blow to the head and neck area on Jared Goff. Go figure. Go figure. And then also fined $16,000 for bringing down the Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs with a hip drop tackle. So here's my question. Why was there no flag? In the 2 clearest plays ever, why was there no flag? Those 2 penalties would have helped out the Lions big time. Now, it wouldn't have taken the touchdown away, but it would have given us another 15 yards or so after the kickoff. So where we had some, bad field position, we would have been in better position. Maybe could have scored a little easier, right? A little quicker. I can't stand it when, these guys are getting fines for hits and they're not getting flagged during the game. If they saw it and they fined it, then that means that New York saw it during the game too. So how come New York didn't phone down to the sidelines like they did in Green Bay and ejected Brian Branch? Why didn't they eject Frankie Louvu? Just saying. Doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right. Brian LaBouffe says, do you think that they will try to bring Foote in as an assistant? I doubt it. I think that he's looking for a DC job, and if that's not what he gets, he's probably going to go back to the Bucs, to be honest with you. He's probably going to go back to the Bucs. Bobu says, I wonder how the NFL comes up with their fine amounts. I'm sure there's a scale, and I'm sure it goes by how many, infractions they've had throughout the season, how many times they've been penalized for something, or how many times they've been fined for something. There has to be a scale. Now, Frankie Louvu was fined the exact same amount for both the hit on Goff and the tackle on Gibbs. It was $16,883. But JMO gets fined $25,000. Make that make sense. You get fined $25,000 for doing an end zone dance, but you only get fined $16,000 for trying to take out a quarterback and then trying to take out a running back. Doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Victor David says, will the Lions hire Larry Foote as a linebackers coach? I don't know. Again, I think that's not I think it's not even a lateral move. I don't know that he's willing to make a lateral move. So let me take a look here. So Larry Foote, was he the linebackers coach or outside linebackers coach? What was he? I thought he was. Let me look into his Tampa Bay profile here. So Larry Foote is in his 6th season with the Bucs, and he was his 3rd as the passing game coordinator and inside linebackers coach. So he's got 2 positions, following 3 seasons as the team's outside linebackers coach. So 6th season, split 3 and 3. First 3 was outside linebacker. Second 3 was inside linebacker and pass game coordinator. Funny thing is Calvin Shepard was the outside linebacker coach and then transitioned to inside linebacker coach or just linebackers coach. So kind of a similar trajectory that Larry Foote has had that Calvin Shepard has had. So, I mean, yeah, could he take a lateral move? Sure. But he just interviewed for a DC job. What other job can you give him to make sure that it's not a reduction in his role to be able to come to the Lions, as a staff member? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what else they could do. But anyway, he's done pretty damn well in Tampa. I mean, they've had a really stout defense for years. I would love to see Larry Foote be a part of this team. He's not the DC, but yeah, to your point, maybe he could be a linebackers coach, or maybe he could be an assistant. No, he can't be really an assistant head coach. Isn't Scotty our assistant head coach? I think he is. Yeah, he's our assistant head coach. So, you know, if Scotty takes on the role of offensive coordinator, do you think he drops the assistant head coach, or does he stay with that title too? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I don't know why certain players get, or certain coaches get certain titles. I always thought it was about money, making sure that they could pay him more by giving him more duties, but maybe it's not always about the money. Let's see. J Mommy says, Sheila really has to show the world what Goodell has done with how he runs the NFL and make him accountable legally. Let me read that again. Sheila really has to show the world what Goodell has done with how he runs the NFL and make him accountable legally. Yeah, I don't know if she will. You know, I think that Sheila has a bone to pick with the NFL, though. If you remember the story that I read last year about Sheila, how she just wanted any job in the NFL, just any job, just a job. And she was, I think, going to Ivy League school at the time. I don't remember which school it was. And she just wanted a job. And the NFL said, nope, there's no jobs. And it was like, there's no jobs for women. And she would have taken the payroll job and just handing out paychecks, you know, driving checks around. That's what one job was. This guy had this job. She could have done that. And she couldn't even get a job doing that. Here she is running a football club all these years later. So maybe she has a bone to pick with Goodell, you know, that she couldn't even get a job back then to even deliver checks, but now she's running a football club. I don't know. I don't know how good their relationships really are. Bees9 says, seems like Dan wants in-house moves. Trey says more women are getting more involved with the NFL these days. I think it's great. Michael Garrity says, has anyone mentioned the Spielman is staying? I have not seen that. Are you saying that he is? Or are you questioning if he is? As far as Spielman, it is apparently noted right here that he is going to stay. He is staying in Detroit. That came out yesterday. Last night, I should say. About 6, 7 o'clock at night. Spielman was in play to be the next GM of New York, having interviewed for the job on January 11th, but the Jets are going to go into a different direction as they are reportedly hiring Broncos assistant GM Darren Muji. And Spielman has been a special assistant to President, CEO, and Chairperson Sheila and Rod Wood. So, yeah, he's staying in town. That's great news. It's great news, Spielman. It's great news. Even though I was looking forward to, you know, maybe Spielman sending us a few players that we could have used, you know, on a real cheap deal, or like that would have been great. You know, sending out a spy, make Chris Spielman the internal spy on some other team. Yeah, probably wouldn't happen, but it makes you wonder. You know, it makes you wonder if that stuff goes on. Still makes me wonder when Quinn and you know, Patricia were part of this Lions organization and what happened with all those contracts and, you know, Trey Flowers and players that we were losing and sending players over there. It makes you wonder what was really going on. I felt like they were put in place just to be an extension of Bill Belichick and like we were the farm team. You know, like the Lions were just the AAA ball club where you're just going to go farm some players from, you know, and poach them when you need them. It's kind of how I felt during that whole process. But who knows? Who knows how deep it really goes? So anyway, that's it for today's little pop-up. I wasn't supposed to be on this long. Kelvin Shepard is now your defensive coordinator. Thank you for Michael Garrity to tell me that Spielman is staying in town, because I totally missed that. Chris Spielman is going to stay in Detroit, I assume in his original role. And now we have to replace a wide receivers coach, a linebackers coach, and still need an offensive coordinator. Will it happen this weekend? Maybe. Will it happen by Monday? I think it will. I think that we should know everything we need to know by Monday, at least with the bigger jobs. So anyway, I'll be on tomorrow. I'll be putting out some videos later on today. So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. So go One Pride, go Detroit Lions. And again, congratulations to Calvin Shepard, our new defensive coordinator. We'll see you guys later.